The question of what is the most appropriate definition of logistics is always an interesting one. Marami tayong definitions na mababasa sa textbooks at sa internet. Some of the definitions are as follows. In 1973, Hesketh, Glaskowski, and Ivy defined logistics as the management of all activities which facilitate movement and the coordination of supply and demand in the creation of time and place utility. Another definition came from the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport in UK in 2012. It defined logistics as the positioning of resource at the right time, in the right place, at the right cost, at the right quality. Kung titignan natin yung dalawang definitions, meron tayong makikita na common sa dalawang definitions. First is the time, and second is the place. However, there are also uncommon terms between the two definitions. First is the cost, and second is the quality. Actually, we can combine these two definitions in order for us to arrive at a modern or contemporary definition. By combining the two definitions, we can define logistics as the efficient transfer of goods from the source of supply through the place of manufacture to the point of consumption in a cost-effective way while providing an acceptable service to the customer. Let's analyze the modern definition. In the definition, it says that logistics is the efficient transfer of goods. Now, how can we say that the transfer of goods is efficient? Of course, we can say that the transfer of goods is efficient if the goods are transferred at the right time and in the right place. So dito na pumapasok yung two common words sa ating dalawang definitions. At yun yung time and place. Ngayon, saan ba manggagaling yung goods na ita-transfer natin at kanino or saan siya mapupunta? Of course, manggagaling yung goods na ita-transfer natin sa source of supply, which is no other than the manufacturer. Kasi yung manufacturer ang gumagawa ng products or goods. At saan siya mapupunta? Of course, to the point of consumption, which is no other than the consumer or the final or end user. At this point, hindi lang yung efficient transfer of goods from the manufacturer to the consumer ang dapat nating i-consider. We should also consider the financial impact of transferring the goods. One of the financial impacts of transferring the goods is the cost. Cost is an expenditure and it will minimize your income. That's why every business should consider the cost. So dito na pumapasok yung third word, which is uncommon to the two definitions. Yun yung cost. So nabanggit na natin yung first three words, yun yung time, place, and cost. Ang hindi na lang natin nababanggit is yung quality. And yung quality ay makikita natin dun sa provision of acceptable service to the customer. So let's just recapitulate the modern definition. Dapat meron tayong efficient transfer of goods, meron tayong control of the costs, and at the same time, kailangan din nating magbigay ng acceptable service sa ating mga customers. For most organizations, it is possible to draw up a familiar list of key areas representing the major components of distribution and logistics. Ano-ano nga ba yung mga major components of distribution and logistics? First is the transport. Second, storage, warehousing, and materials handling. Third is inventory. Fourth, packaging and unitization. And fifth, information and control. Within these different components are the detailed aspects or examples that we need to consider. Unahin natin yung transport. Sa transport, the very important aspect or example is the mode of transport. Pag sinabing mode of transport, ang ibig sabihin nito, gigamit ba tayo ng water, ng air, or land sa pagtransport ng products or goods? So meaning to say, the mode of transport is either land transport, water transport, or air transport. Next aspect is the type of delivery operation. Another is load planning, and the last one is route schedule. Let's proceed to storage, warehousing, and materials handling. First aspect that we need to consider under this one is the location of warehouses. Aside from that, the number and size of distribution depots, type of storage, and materials handling equipment. Next, sa inventory naman tayo. Sa inventory, these are the questions or the statements that we need to answer or address. First is what to stock. Second, where to stock. And third, how much to stock. Take note na sa inventory, meron tayong three types. Meron tayong tatlong klase. First is the raw materials inventory. Second is the work in process inventory. And the third one is the finished goods inventory. Raw materials inventory refers to an inventory which is not yet processed. Pag work in process inventory naman, ongoing na yung processing pero hindi pa siya tapos. Pag sinabing finished goods inventory, of course, inventory to na tapos na. So dahil tapos na, pwede na siyang ibenta. Let's proceed to packaging and unitization. Dito, ito yung mga aspects or examples na kailangan din nating i-consider. Unit load, protective packaging para hindi siya madaling masira, and of course, the handling systems. Last, we have information and control. Dito, yung mga typical examples na kailangan nating i-consider ay yung design ng systems natin, of course, the information system, and yung control procedures natin na gagamitin. Logistics and distribution play an important role both in the economy and in the industry. Let's first discuss the importance of logistics and distribution in the economy. First, logistics is important because it contributes to employment. In fact, one study in the United Kingdom indicated that about 30% of the working population were associated with work that is related to logistics. Aside from employment, logistics is important in the economy because it contributes to the gross domestic product. In 2007, for the main European and North American countries, logistics represented between about 8% to 11% of gross domestic product. For developing countries, this range was higher at around 12% to 21%, with India at about 17% and China at 21%. When we say gross domestic product, this is the final value of the goods and services produced within the geographic boundaries of a country during a specified period of time, which is normally a year. For more information, the gross domestic product growth rate is an important indicator of the economic performance of a country. Now, punta naman tayo dun sa importance of logistics and distribution in the industry. There are two key factors related to the relative importance of logistics in the industry. And the two key factors were highlighted in the results from the 2011 Herbert Davis survey. According to the 2011 Herbert Davis survey, small companies tend to have proportionately higher logistic costs than large companies. Bakit kaya mas mataas yung logistics costs ng small companies kaysa sa large companies? The reason why the logistics costs of small companies are higher than the logistics costs of large companies is that large companies can benefit from economies of scale. Ano nga ba yung economies of scale? Pag sinabi nating economies of scale, these refer to the cost reductions experienced by a firm when it increases its production. Meaning to say, pag nag-increase ng production ang isang company, mababawasan ang kanyang cost. In other words, as firms increase in size, they become more efficient. Actually, economies of scale are achieved when increasing the scale of production decreases the long-term average costs. In other words, the cost of production per unit decreases as a company produces more units. This is because fixed costs, gaya ng administration costs at rent costs, ay distributed across a higher number of production units. Aside from that, companies with high product values tend, as a summary, logistics is important in the economy because it contributes to employment and gross domestic product. It is also important in the industry because the logistics costs vary from one company or business to another. And the results of the 2011 Herbert Davis survey help the companies to analyze the logistics costs that they will incur in their respective businesses.